Um, in this video we'll be learning how to model this low poly sword, and we'll create it in Blender and then texture it and then import it in Unity. I'll be covering the basics of modeling, the tools that are often used. We'll in the end set it up with a character that I have, Hans. I made it for a store. It should be available soon. There, it's pending review. They take a lot of time. Okay, so here it is. Let me speed up the animation, and this animation pack is from Mixamo. It's on Asset Store also, MilliX pack, and zoom. Okay, so this video is meant for beginners only, but you can watch it if you have time. And let's go to Blender and start modeling. I might sound a little weird because I'm not used to speak that much. I slip words a lot, so bear with me, and let's do it. So this is the default scene that you have in your Blender if it's installed recently or you haven't changed any settings. I'll double tap A on keyboard and delete everything. So let me explain the navigation. How do we navigate? This is our navigation viewport, and we can rotate our scene with middle mouse button and pan with middle mouse button and shift key, and then zoom in and out with mouse scroll. Okay, so this is our outliner, this is properties, this is timeline, and this is the T toolbar, T. And we have another one, N toolbar here. We will not use it. Well, this is pretty useful. So let's get into orthographic view with 5, then front with 1 on numpad, and let's adjust. So we'll be making a low poly sword, so let's go and add a cube. To add a cube, you can go here, add mesh, and then cube. A cube, at the moment this is an object. In object mode we cannot manipulate our vertices, edges, or faces. Here for that we'll have to move to edit mode, but we'll just do that. First let's rename our cube to sword, and I'll shift to cycles render, and let's give this a material, sword matte. So now let's get to modeling. Let's create the handle for our sword. For that we'll scale this with ASCII, and on numpad type 0.1. This gets resized to 0.1 size, and there are some selection methods in Blender. You can select 0.1 by 1 these vertices 1 by 1 with a right click, or you can use lasso tool with control and left mouse button and dragging. And we have box tool with B key, and then circle with C, and you can increase or decrease the size of the circle with mouse scroll. Select this upper face. We are in front of the graphic view. Select this upper face, and we have these gizmos. This is the transform gizmo. We have rotation gizmo that we can use to rotate our selection, and then scale to scale on this respective axis. So let's transform this and move this face a little up to stretch it. So this would be our sword's handle. Let's use lasso with control and left mouse, and then duplicate it with shift D, or you can duplicate it from this toolbar. Duplicate. This will duplicate your selection, and you can release this with right click. Now we'll scale this to get the silhouette for our blade. So we have this face on top of our handle, and adjust the thickness for your blades and extrude it with E. And when you extrude, the face gets attached or sticks to the cursor, so you can easily manipulate it in the 3D view. Let's first see how this looks. I'll increase the ambient light a bit. Let's see how this looks so far. Oh, let's make it gray. This looks like a cricket bat. Move to, oh yeah, these are the options for viewport shading. You can go render, material, texture, solid, wireframe. We'll be working in wire and solid view. This is solid, and you can switch to wireframe with Z key. And now we need to add some details to the blade. We'll use loop cut here. Loop cut cuts your mesh or divides it into two or a number of sections if you increase the number of cuts, but we need one here only. And we'll then choose our transform gizmo, move to wireframe, and then move it up to make it a bit pointy. Let's go rendered again. Looks pretty good. And oh, solid. Okay, our blade is done, and I want this blade to have sharp edges, so we'll go ahead and select these vertex or vertices with right click and merge them together at center. Select Alt M center, Alt M center. Okay, so now we'll have a problem here. We can, but we lose this volume that we have. So I'll undo that and add a supporting loop with knife tool. You can select the knife tool from here or hit K on your keyboard, and I'll enable cut through on. What this will do, this will cut the visible surface and the surface behind it, or the surfaces. So cut through is on, and now I'll mark the points and space for oh, I did not enable the cut through. So we can enable or disable the cut through option with Z or Z key. Here it is again, and see, it has cut the mesh from behind also. Now we'll merge this. We have this sharp edge. Alright, this is our blade, this is our handle, and we need to separate these two with something like a base for the blade. This is the 3D cursor. Whenever we create new objects, it will be instantiated on this cursor. If we are to add a cube here, it will get instantiated on this point. We want a cube in the middle of all this, so we'll select it with lasso and snap the cursor. We'll go press space for this search menu and then snap cursor to select it. It will snap our cursor to the mid of this selection, and now we'll add a cube. Go to side view and scale it, and then scale it on X, and let's get to rendered. So this looks pretty good, looks like a sword, and I'll just adjust the size, select this face, transform gizmo, move up on Z. Okay, let's shift these corners up, but we can do that at the moment because we don't have any supporting loop cut here or supporting edges to keep this place here only. So to do that, we'll again add a loop cut, use right click to release, and then select these side faces and move this up. Now we have something like this. Okay, and let's also give our sword handle a base. What I did, I selected the face, E to extrude, and scale what's the word for that, to suit my needs, and then select everything, this square piece that you see and all the faces, and then hit E, release with right click, then Alt S to fatten it, to make it thicker. So this looks like this. Looks good, right? And go solid view, and let's add some details on our blade. We can select our floating meshes. This is our floating mesh for our blade. It is not connected with anything like handle base or the handle itself, and we can select our floating meshes or separate meshes with L, it will select the whole connected thing. And let's inverse our selection with Control I and hide everything else that is selected with H. So now we can work on our blade. Let's add some loop cuts, increase the number with scroll, and then use your transform gizmo to make it crooked, and scale and scale. Okay, this shape looks good to me. Okay, cool, this is good. Again, let's give this blade some sharp edge like we have in actual swords. We can do this with inset tool. What inset does, it should be here, inset faces. So this will create a equal face on the face that we have selected. Select all these faces for our sword. Let's see how this goes with everything. This doesn't work. Let's select everything with box selection, and you can see it did not select the faces behind what was visible to us. It only happens when we are in wireframe. So let's select this, inset our mesh with a thickness of 0.0, no, 0.1, and do the same for the other side, I 0.1. Oh, you can see we have this thing below, and we don't want that. Go to wireframe, select these faces and delete faces, and then shift to vertex selection mode, scale on Z and hit 0 to straighten everything. Push this below and see, it's all ready. We have our sharp edge for our blade, and let's add some more details with knife tool. Knife is pretty handy to cut our mesh. Okay, so this is a knife tool. You can access it from here, from the toolbar, and or with K on your keyboard. With a knife tool, like the selection, knife tool will work only with the visible meshes or visible faces, sorry, but we can make it work with faces behind or behind our cut or the face we are cutting. With Z key to enable the cut through on, and then we can mark the points where to cut, like so. Okay, let's do it again. Hit K then Z to enable cut through and mark the cut that we want, and hit space to confirm, and this will make cuts like this, go ahead and select these two vertices and delete them. This will create a hollow space in your sword, something like this. And now we'll fill this up. Select these points, press F, select this edge, this, and F to create a face, and select this, create a face, select these and create a face. So we now have a cut on our blade. Let's create one here. K, Z, mark the points, space, go to wireframe, select the middle vertices carefully, delete them with X, select create face, select create face, and then select create and select create. Okay, so let me introduce you to these pivot points. We are working with median point. This means that the transform gizmo will stick to the midpoint of the selection, like so. And we can also use a 3D cursor, use our 3D cursor as our midpoint for the selection for transform gizmos, like so. Cursor was here. Now when we scale it, it will scale on this point. And now we have individual origins. So what this does, it can transform the faces individually. Like we have this face and this face selected, and now we can scale these two on their points like this. But when median, they will scale to the mid point of the selection. So let's select individual origins and scale this and move it up, and let's adjust this a bit. Okay, so our sword model is all done. Now we need to get into the UV image editor. You can select it here, UV image editor, select your mesh and set the pivot to the mid. This is your pivot point for object mode. This is the point where your object will rotate. I selected this rotation with hitting R twice, by hitting R twice, whatever. So now go to edit mode, select your mesh. These are the press U, and these are the UV unwrap options that you have in Blender. So we'll just do project from view, and this will create a replica of our wireframe. In the UV section, scale this up, and now select, hover the mouse on the base to select the base, and press L to select the base, the whole base, linked faces, and move it away. And then select this handle. This handle is separate already or not, it is not. Select the handle and move it away on the UV viewport, and select this handle base and move it away. So we now have four different objects in the view, and we'll put them in these grids. We'll paint. You can increase your selection holding shift, and we'll scale these down to 0. Press S and then hit 0, and we'll place it here, and we'll scale the handle here, and let's save it with name sword. We are almost done. I'm sorry if I took too much time. I'm slow, I know. So let's head to Photoshop. Create a new document with the resolution 256. It's pretty good for low poly, and name this sword texture. Mark the strip and create a gradient. If you I have the gradient already set up for metal. What I did, well, let's do it again. Select a light shade for the blade and a dark shade for the secondary color, and then go select your gradient tool, go to gradient and hit the first one. So this will create a gradient from the light shade to the dark shade, and we'll add one more with a little bit of bluish tint, like this, and move it up, and we'll also give the dark shade a tint of blue. Hit OK, and then drag to create the gradient. This place was for our let me check, for our blades base and the handle base. We'll paint this something like a metal and make it darker. Oh, we chose the secondary, and we'll paint the handle a brown color for wood. So choose a color, a brown shade, and then create a key square and then paint it, and we'll save this document. Yeah, okay, now we are in Blender. Let's load up our image. Set our material to image texture, open source text file, and load it up in UV image editor. It's off a little bit, so we'll adjust. Select handle, move it up, move it in the middle, and now when we had to render, we have our sword looking like this. We created this this sharp edge, and we can select it, and the coordinates or the faces related to it will appear in the UV viewport. So select the outer edge and we'll make this bright, shiny, I mean to say. Go to the UVs, hit A to select everything, and then scale down. Make it 0 if you want. Press S and then hit 0 to make it 0, and then we go to material, and now we can adjust this inside it. Okay, rendered, and now we have our blade. Hold on. Cool. Looks pretty good to me. And now let's import this sword into Unity. Well, this blade would be pretty large in Unity because Unity has some different scale. And let's go back to object mode and add another object, another cube. Okay, we did not center. You can center your 3D cursor with Shift C and it will get to 0, 0, 0, and then add mesh cube and we'll scale it to 0.5. The blender cube is 2 meter wide or has 2 meter in all direction as dimension, so we scale it to 0.5, and this is now 1 meter, and 1 meter sword is pretty good as your characters are 2 meter long in in Unity. Scale this on 3D cursor, center your 3D cursor to 0, 0, 0 with Shift C and then scale it on it until it matches the size of the cube. You can move it up, and yeah, roughly 1 meter long. Okay, we can now delete this cube and head back to outliner, and now all we have is this sword. Okay, so now let's export our model to FBX. You can do this by file, export, and then FBX and hit export and boot up Unity. Da, 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 da. Okay, so let's export our stuff. Sword FBX here, and model hands prefab, and we'll use our sword with this character. And let's first change the material to unlit texture. Select the texture file and check if everything works. Yeah, drag and drop into the scene, and we'll now adjust this sword model with our character's hand. So make sure you are on pivot local, and something like this. Wrong position. You can always switch to global and local, no big deal. Let's just adjust it so it fits the hand, and when it animates, it looks like he's kind of holding it. Okay, this position looks good to me. And now, how do we make this sword animate with this character? So to do that, we'll just expand the rig of the character. Then this is his right hand, so we'll go shoulder right, upper arm right, forearm hand, and we'll parent this sword to hand, and then create another prefab here. Okay, so I have this Mixamo Melee X pack. It has some animations. Let's drag and drop our character here, and first check if the position is correct. So it is not, and we need to rotate this and apply. And what was that? Yes, here, and move this up. Apply again. That's my girlfriend. Yeah, hold on a sec. And apply. Hopefully it's much better now. This pack is meant for X, and you can do much here, and not here. Let's see. Oops, you need to rotate this way. You can adjust it. It's meant for X axis, and axis have a thin handle. So let's see this in action. It has some attacks. Come on. Combo. Shoot. And now we have this. And this works pretty good, I guess. And if anybody likes it, I'll upload this sword model on a Sketchfab, I guess, and we'll write the link in the description. And yeah, this is my character. I made it for a store and it should be available soon. Okay, so mm, 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 mm. I'll stop here and we are done. We covered how to model, use knife tools, looped cuts, and lots of stuff. I hope you get something, and I think I misspelled, mispronounced a lots of words, so it's alright as long as you understand. So, bye bye, and I'll upload this if anyone wants it, in case. It's not very good, but still. So this is how you can create game ready assets. You don't need to learn everything in Blender. The time we don't even use this unless we are animating and stuff, and and that's pretty much it. And thanks for watching if you are still here, and thanks for listening. Bye. Da, da, da.